coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast, ripping up everything, off that, back to back is not far-fetched. We got a couple of
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Coaches. I am your host, guys, as always, Coach Steve. We are back with another fantastic episode for you guys today. Building up your dynasty, building up your fantasy benches today. We've been doing a series of ADP all month of August here now. Now we're getting to some players where we're going to be talking about kind of on the end of your bench, maybe some flex options still. A lot of players to talk about today. Players 100 to 150 in terms of ADP right now. But before we get into that, let me introduce my fantastic crew today. Coach Tyler is here, of course, as always. Coach Tyler, what is going on, brother?
What's up, guys? Yeah, excited to be back on.
Absolutely. And we have the return of some old school coaches on the board today. Coach Jibbs, brother, what is going on?
That's good, brother, man. Can't wait to talk about these late round gems. You found two for this episode, so let's keep it rolling.
Absolutely. And of course, we have Coach Papa John. What's going on, brother? Welcome back on the show.
Thank you very much, guys. It is always a pleasure and a privilege and an honor to be with the coaches. It's fun and feels good to be home for a little bit. So I just did my big FTLS draft this past weekend. I'm hot off of like a big draft weekend, so I'm excited. I'm excited for this.
Absolutely, as am I, because guys, football is a few short weeks away. Week 2 preseason is done and out of the way with here now, so we're going to get into the nitty gritty. News-wise, again, there's some injury things going on that we'll kind of talk about a little bit more next week here. Why we kind of get ADP rolling. John Mechie was traded to the Eagles there, Coach Jibbs. So you have that going on. But week 2's out of the books. We have one more week of preseason, and then again, next week our show will kind of dig into a lot of players to help you out with your drafts, because I know a lot of people do their drafts this weekend, Labor Day weekend. So there's a lot to cover over the next 2 episodes here. But let's get into the nitty gritty. Like I said, we are building our fantasy benches, players that are going and pick maybe 10 to 13, 14. That are really important, because these are fundamental players for your bye weeks, things like that and whatnot. So we're gonna get right into it here. If I can pull my screen up here. All right, the last of the confident quarterbacks here. You're looking at guys like Dak Prescott, Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, who had a monster game last night, and obviously Justin Herbert here. A lot of strong names here that people obviously know in fantasy football. But who are we going to start with first? Since Coach Jibbs, you're sitting here at the top, I'm going to let you go first here. So tell us, why don't you start us off here with on a positive note here? Which of these fantasy quarterbacks, if you're taking them late, are you most confident in going after?
Wow. That's an honor, first of all. But I'll go with Dak Prescott. I also have love for Justin Fields as well. But as a non-mobile quarterback, I just like the value we could get him in drafts this season, especially if you choose to neglect the position and get all your stud wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, all that good stuff. But in my opinion, Dallas's passing attack will have to do that heavy lifting this off the season. Their defense is porous. The run game looks kind of suspect as of now. So I think Dak Prescott had Brian Schottenheimer on the offensive side of the ball for the last 3 years. He ranked top 10 in quarterback dropback, so the volume is going to be there. And he's ranked top 8 last 4 out of 5 years in fantasy. So I think I'm not shooting for upside. I don't think that Prescott could be a top tier QB1, but for where I'm going to get him in the draft going at QB10, I think he could pick up a couple spots and definitely pay off on his ADP currently.
Yes. Unlike the Cowboys' playoff success, Dak Prescott has some great fantasy success for sure for fantasy rosters. That was a great pick. Coach John, I'm gonna switch the negative side to you here. Which of these quarterbacks do you feel least confident in?
I mean, it's kind of a layup, but it's got to be Justin Fields.
Okay, Coach Tyler's going to go instead.
Oh,
That's fine.
I
love it.
thought you
That's
said
fine.
Coach Tyler. I completely
Okay, I was gonna say Justin Fields is myself. I mean, the preseason hasn't been glowing. We've always had questions with his accuracy. That's always been his biggest issue. Is when he's in his groove, when he's in his bag, when he's running for 100 yards, and at that 70% completion mark, he looks awesome. You just don't always get that. Every once in a while you'll get some of those, I got to throw a flat screen out to Breece Hall and I'm going to put it 10 yards over his head. Those situations, you can't keep doing that in the NFL and keep getting jobs. I get it. He's talented. I get it. He's a dual threat. You can change the game with your legs. Fantasy, I love that. But at some point, you're on multiple teams. You're not going to keep getting this chance. If you're going to keep turning the ball over, you're going to keep being a 18-point, 500 quarterback. I just don't know if athleticism is going to keep that going. And I don't know if you guys have been around as long as I have. I have never seen the Jets develop a quarterback. So I don't think that all of a sudden Justin Fields is going to get into that building and develop into something more than he already is. I mean, if anything, the Jets are anti-development of quarterback talent. They make it harder for quarterbacks to play there. So you already have a guy who is a development project as it is, going to an organization that I don't really trust. Vibes aren't good in the offense. To me, that is just the biggest red flag out of the bunch. And he might be one of my biggest red flags for these air quotes like late round, sleeper guys. I just don't really feel it with Justin Fields.
Yes, his preseason game this past week was less than inspiring. That
was a tough go.
Coach Tyler, over to you. You're going to get 2 questions here. But Kyle in the chat here wants to know, do you keep Josh Allen or Derrick Henry? Again, there's not a lot of content here, but if you had to keep them for no picks given up, obviously, or no round penalty, who are you keeping for the season?
With no context, I feel like Josh Allen. You've got the onesie position, and if Derrick Henry's out there in the draft, there's probably going to be a couple other running backs that will be out there too. So if it's a one quarterback league, I feel like Josh Allen just kind of gives you the advantage holding on. You don't have to worry about going into the draft and replacing a guy like Josh Allen. And it's, not to say it's easy to replace a guy like Derrick Henry, but there's a lot more shots to replace a Derrick Henry than there are a Josh Allen.
That's fair. I respect it. Yeah. I mean, again, I think you have the high end quarterback. You have that now. Last year was funky with running backs. There were so many healthy running backs last year. I feel like the tables have to turn in 2025, especially because the wide receivers were so banged up last year. So yeah, Josh Allen's a good play. But Coach Tyler, back to you now. I'm going to give you more of a specific question here. Caleb Williams obviously not shocked everyone, but was fantastic last night there. Did that move the needle for you? Is he someone that you should be taking with a late round pick?
I've always been someone that is, or I say always, I've been this offseason very vocal about liking Caleb Williams. Obviously, we need to see the step up. He didn't have, the worst rookie season ever by a quarterback, but he gets such an offensive upgrade, which is crazy to say because of how good of an offense he walked into last year and all the weapons people were already talking about. But we have an upgrade at tight end. We have another, upgrade at receiver. I would say Luther Burden is an upgrade from old Keenan Allen. You have a little bit more of a run game with DeAndre Swift coming back. You have all of the additions offensively, which coming from the weapons that he came into his rookie season with is crazy to say. But he also has Ben Johnson as his coach. And that is the, unspeakable biggest upgrade. You look at Jared Goff, his last 3 seasons in Detroit, quarterback 10, quarterback 7, quarterback 6. He runs very quarterback-friendly offenses in terms of actually producing. You see the frustration with the, getting the fundamentals of it if you've been paying attention to the Bears beat writers. But once it starts to click for everyone, it's going to be lights out. And I think talent-wise, at least where he's at in his career, Caleb Williams is a little bit more raw talent than Jared Goff was. So if he can put it together with the weapons that he is being presented with in a Ben Johnson offense, if he can figure it out, there's a very high chance of success. I would love to see it in year 1. There's a chance it takes couple years to really set in and lock in because it is the Bears, and we know their history with coaches over the last 15 years.
Very
But,
similar to the Jets.
but at the same time, I think he's worth the flyer, especially if you're really believing in what the offense is around him and who Ben Johnson is. If you are someone that is very heavy on beating the drum of the Lions are going to take a step back because Ben Johnson is gone, you need to be heavy on the same drum of the Bears offense is going to take a big step forward because Ben Johnson is present.
That's fair. I like that. I'm big on the Bears offense this year, so I'm really hoping for some big things from them. Going over to our next slide here, but before we do, who wants to answer this question here from Brian in the chat here? DJ Moore or Mike Evans, PPR? I'm assuming this is either a keeper or maybe he's on the clock right now. But I guess, who do you guys want in DJ Moore or Mike Evans right now in a 14-man league?
I'm Mike Evans. Pretty easily Mike Evans. Yeah.
Landslide. Don't trust him more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just think Evans, and especially with this news, Chris Godwin's likely to start on the pup. I like Emeka Mbuka. I like McMillan. I like these other guys, but it's like, I don't know. Is it just going to be Mike Evans getting 12 targets a game to start the season again? It's like, yeah, probably. It's like, so again, I think DJ Moore's great. I think, at the end of the year, could they have comparable numbers, comparable stats? Is it maybe wide receiver 14 versus wide receiver 17? It's like, yeah, sure. But give me the guy who's going to certainly start off hot as anything, look great, get you, hopefully 5-1 to start the first half of the year, and then figure it out the rest of the way down the stretch. But I just like Mike Evans a lot. I just think it's just such a safe, easy wide receiver 2 with big upside.
All right. Thank you, boys. All right. Back to these quarterbacks here now. Obviously, there's some more, if you don't take the top, 14 and you want to go past it, maybe you're in a deeper man league, maybe whatever it may be. Maybe you like to take 2 quarterbacks always on your team. Who knows? But obviously, there's another grouping of quarterbacks here kind of put together. Quarterbacks that kind of can offer upside in their own way. Obviously, you have Drake May, who's a rising star there in New England. Jordan Love, hopefully a comeback season despite the finger surgery that he's having this offseason. Again, it's on his non-throwing hand, so don't worry about that. CJ Stroud, hopefully a bounce back with a very favorable schedule. JJ McCarthy in that really favorable fantasy quarterback area for the Vikings. Cam Ward, a big arm talent, rookie, looking to make a name for himself. And obviously my boy Tua, when he's healthy, there's some good things that happen in Miami sometimes. But who do I want to start first? Jibbs, I'll let you start first again. Why not? Give us a negative, though. Give us someone that you're not trying to not acquire, but draft on any teams if it comes down to it.
I don't want to get to it, actually.
Okay.
I know I understand. Wow.
I'm kidding,
he comes with inherent risks, but he's even free on draft day, so I can't really diss on his value or anything.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he's worth that. His weapons are great. He's played 1 full season in 5 years. There's already issues with the offensive line. Miami can't put pressure on the defensive line. On the defense side of the ball either. But anyway,
we got Matt Judon now. Come on.
That'll fix it. He helped Atlanta a ton, didn't he?
but anyway, their offensive philosophy, they can't really rush the ball well. So I think the safeties are kind of playing up on them, and then they're getting all these low area targets for A-Chain, Johnny Smith last year, and I just don't think they can replicate what he did in his juggernaut 2023 season. So if you have this dink and duck operation, sure, Tua can survive the whole season. But what's he gonna have 3,700 yards receiving? Okay, not really gonna do it for you. Maybe top 20, but he hasn't beat QB 13. Why should I expect him to have any upside more than that?
That's fair. And again, you could look at this as thinking superflex as well, and avoiding quarterbacks is not having to as a QB2 as well. Because I know there are people who play in superflex leagues, probably tons of players. So there's another way to look at it. Coach Tyler, I'm gonna let you stick with the positive one on this one. Which of these quarterbacks are you most positive in for the season here?
There's really a lot that I'm positive in, so it makes it hard to pick one. I feel like we've talked so much about J.J. McCarthy and Drake May, so I'm going to leave them. I'm really going to turn to Jordan Love. I really like what the Packers are building. He is the quintessential. You want him in fantasy, but not really his weapons because he spreads the ball out so much that he produces. But everyone always kind of ends up like 3 for 45, and then the one guy that gets a touchdown is the one that leads the room and kills the points. But I like the offense there. Green Bay's been building that receiver room very quietly over the last few years. There's really a lot of darlings in that room. None of them are really big names outside of Jaden Reed. But they also went out and did something that the Packers, I don't think, have done in my lifetime. It's been a first round pick on a wide receiver for Jordan Love. And I'm a Matthew Golden fan. I know we talked about him. It was either last week or a couple weeks ago. Analytically, you can say what you want about him. I've followed this guy since he was a freshman at the University of Houston, and I've loved him. Very much disappointed me to see him go to the University of Texas. But I think that he can 100% be the alpha. That's who they drafted him to be. I don't care how butthurt Jaden Reed gets. But I like Jordan Love. I think he's got the weapons, and really, as much as I love Josh Jacobs and how much he produced in the touchdown category last year, it's really hard to replicate that. There's going to be some regression there. So if the offense is going to maintain and continue to try and be, playoff contenders, then Jordan Love's going to have to do it a little bit. And so I really like Jordan Love out of this group about as much as anyone else that we've talked about.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that there's a bounce back for him, especially because he was dealing with the injury in Week 1 last year. He didn't really have a rushing floor, nor could he really probably move around the pocket all that much to really help us. So, I mean, I do love that a lot. Coach John, are we going to have you sit here for 20 minutes talking about Drake May, or do one of these other young quarterbacks here intrigue you for a deep sleeper or in super flex leagues?
So I would love to take this opportunity to sit here and wax poetically about Drake May because I do like him and I do think there is upside there. But I do want to take this time to bring up CJ Stroud because if we were having this conversation a year ago, CJ Stroud is in a totally different bracket. Not even the fact that he's even in this conversation to me is crazy, and how fast we've sort of given up on a broken wide receiver year for him. Nico Collins was banged up part of the year. Tank Dell was banged up most of the time. He lost Stephon Diggs week 5, I think it was. So, and we know this about touchdown and yardage dependent quarterbacks. We've seen it with Joe Burrow. There'll be years where he's quarterback 4 or 5. There's years where he's quarterback 18 because they're just yardage and touchdowns just don't kind of bounce that way. It happens unless you're Aaron Rodgers in his prime. There's just fluctuation there. So Baker. Great example. Baker Mayfield last year was going where CJ Stroud is going now. And this year they changed. And it's just a matter of public opinion. I think that CJ Stroud could easily go out there, throw for 4,000 yards and have 35 touchdowns. Easily. They added Jalen Noel. They added Higgins. I mean, they could do it. They don't have a running game right now. What else are they going to do? They're going to have to score points. I do think that we are, as fantasy players, sometimes we get so quick to move on and change our opinion and go that this is the new reality. It's like, stop, take a deep breath, and think about last year. Think about what we were saying last offseason about this young kid. It's year 2 in the NFL. I think that CJ Stroud is a great quarterback 2 on a super flex. If you're drafting today and you could get him as your quarterback 2, that's crazy. And I think that if this is sort of the public perception that I've felt and seen in fantasy circles and in conversations with people, man, I'm trading for him in Dynasty. I'm going out trying to get him. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be a good player for the next, 5, 6, 7 years. So I don't know. It's just funny to me. I could say the same conversation about all these guys, to be honest with you. Tua makes me nervous with the injuries, but all 5 of these guys, all 5 others are good guys. But CJ, again, what was he, quarterback 4 in startups last year?
Something like he was going early.
Yeah, crazy. Now, I think that was probably an overreaction, but I also think this is probably an overreaction the other way.
I know Coach Tyler's happy you brought the CJ Stroud. And I actually was gonna ask you, but then I was like, I don't want to throw you on the spot with certain players. I want to give you an option to pick your player. So you actually picked a player I wanted you to talk about anyway. So,
good. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so that worked out great there. So yeah, there's a lot of good, obviously, quarterbacks that you can grab late, or if you're obviously in the Superflex League, you're looking for a QB2. There's a lot of good names out there. So All right, where's my mouse at? Here we go. All right, let's get over to some running backs here now. Some high-end backups, committee starters. You're looking at guys like Zach Charbonnet, who has a ton of upside when he gets a chance to play. J.K. Dobbins, obviously, is kind of the starter still in Denver. We'll have to wait and see if that's really the case. Or Ramondre Stevenson is obviously losing some of his starting role, obviously, to Trayvon Henderson. Javonte Williams still seems like he has the starting job there in Dallas. Najee Harris is falling, obviously. He's falling down ADP pretty badly right now. Obviously, he's not in practice at all yet. And I want to say this is Tank Bigsby, number 4 here, who, again, got the start for the Jacksonville Jaguars this past week because I actually had to watch that game for a reason. So there's again, a lot of high-end committee starter type of players here. None of them really overly flash on their own, but unless sometimes when they get the starting roles to themselves, maybe it's a little different here. Who do I want to start with? John, I want to start with you this time around here. Give me someone that you dislike in this bunch that you don't plan on going near.
It's so funny because I think I could make a case for why I don't like any of them.
That's
But for sure, Javonte Williams to me is the one that's like, I'm not falling for this trap again. I'm not doing it. When you get to a veteran player and you have coaches and the organization coming out and saying things like, well, it's good to have the veteran presence in the locker room. Well, he's been around a lot of teams. He's seen winning culture. Like, none of it's about his playing. It's all about just like him being a good veteran presence. He's in the building. He's not. No. I want to know, how is he performing? How is he as a running back? How's he help the offense? So when your team is telling you all these things in all your press conferences, and meanwhile they can't stop talking about Jaden Blue, they can't stop talking about George Pickens, they can't stop talking. Okay, that tells me that they clearly don't care about Javonte Williams, and he's not really in their plans. He's not really in their future. They signed him to a cheap 1-year deal. If you look at the money, a lot of it is on incentives. It's not a lot of guaranteed stuff. So I think they brought him in because at the time they had no clue how the draft was going to work out. They had no clue, sort of what other backs they had in the system. They really didn't have anybody. So they signed him to a veteran contract. And we, again, as fantasy players, hear this news that the Cowboys rushed to sign Javonte Williams in the offseason. And it's like, no. I think they just needed a guy in the building to lock it up. And they didn't want to go into the draft with nobody because then they would have felt forced to take somebody early. I think that this is just going to be a pain in the neck committee. And yeah, Rico Dowdle emerged eventually towards the end. And you had some usable weeks there. I think that's probably going to be Jaden Blue. Similar story. Maybe by week 5, 6, 7, they realize, what are we doing with Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams giving us nothing? Let's at least try and get something out of the rookie. But he's one that for sure, he is 100% off my board, off my radar.
Okay. I like it. I mean, I want to pick Javonte Williams, but I get it. I'm probably going to fall for the trap a few times, but that's okay. Coach Tyler, give me somebody you like in this round that you will probably want to target in drafts.
Yeah. Again, it might be easy, but Zach Charbonnet. I've always been a Charbonnet fan. He's the one that I want to target. He's if I look at it, honestly, probably best running back out of the group here. But we look at two major things with why I like him. One is Clint Kubiak coming in, right? We saw even just the one big burst run in the preseason. I want to say it was Saturday or Sunday, right? They're running just a little trap with the guard, and Zach Charbonnet is able to run into probably the biggest open green field that he's ever seen, right? And he takes it straight, 15 yards, good little burst, goes in for the touchdown. He is 100% a high-end RB2 / low-end RB1 anytime that Kenneth Walker misses. Kenneth Walker misses a lot of games. And if you've been paying attention to practice reports or you have Kenneth Walker on your dynasty team and you keep checking sleeper,
missing practice.
He's missing a lot of practice with this random foot injury. Mike McDonald is downplaying it. It's nothing. He'll be fine by week 1, whatever. He's a running back. He's playing football. He's got to be on his feet. You can't really take it easy. There's nothing that he can do to stop it in the middle of the season. So if he's already popping up with stuff, which I'm pretty sure he had a quad or some kind of soft tissue right as training camp began too. So
Correct.
he's already fighting the injury bug, and we haven't even made it to the final week of preseason. So the door is wide open, and we saw at the back end of last year what Zach Charbonnet can do when he is the RB1. The new scheme with Clint Kubiak, Kenneth Walker already biting that injury bug. It opens up a lot of doors and a lot of opportunity for a guy that should have already had a pretty decent timeshare in that backfield. So if I'm taking these, high-end backups or committee starters, he's about as high-end of a backup, or really can very much be a starter whenever he's called upon. And we know that Kenneth Walker is liable to miss at least a couple games a season. So I know if I time it right, like it happened last year, I'm getting an extra, RB, low-end RB1, high-end RB2 in my flex spot, with hopefully some healthy guys on my team already to push me through playoffs.
That's fair. I do like that a lot. I honestly didn't realize Ken Walker had a foot injury, so shame on me for not knowing that. So good, I do know that, because I do not like players with foot injuries before the season starts. So, Coach Jibbs, I'll let you pick. You want a negative, you want to talk negative, you want to talk positive about one of the other guys. Maybe not Najee Harris, obviously, because he's kind of falling. I mean, if you want to talk about Najee, go for it. But
No, definitely not Najee. I'll say I'll give it a little and dislike for someone quick. J.K. Dobbins, where you getting him in the drafts isn't bad. I'm probably on the R.J. Harvey train as well, but we've seen Sean Payton have 1A, 1Bs back in the day. Kamara, Mark Ingram. So I think he's gonna have a usable role, but it's not like he's gonna end up really beating his draft value. So and just Ramondre Stevenson, since that career high in receiving yards and receptions in 2022, his output has plummeted by 40% and 60% in 2024. Now we have a young Ferrari back there as a great pass catching option, and I think that's what's kind of been holding Stevenson's value up, is those catches. So I think he's just one of those classic dead zone running backs. You're just going to be like, oh man, I didn't draft a running back, I need to get something with some kind of touches on my team. And then by week 8, you're sitting there like, oh man, Travion Henderson, 156,
2 scores,
on 12 carries. Get out of here.
Oh gosh, yes, that's probably going to happen at some point. Can't wait for that. All right, over to some more upside backups here. We're looking at guys like Tyjae Spears, who is dealing with obviously a high ankle sprain right now. I want to say that's Jaden Blue, the rookie running back that Coach John mentioned before. We have, I want to say Jerome Ford here. Looks like it.
Nick Chubb.
That's Chubb.
Oh, Nick Chubb. Thank you.
I was playing to guess the game too.
I couldn't figure out. Obviously, Nick Chubb is over in Houston now. Rashad White here, the pass catching back, backing up. I think still backing up at least. Bucky Irving. Austin Eckler, with that more recent news with Brian Robinson being shopped around right now. And then obviously Isaiah Guerrero backing up Christian McCaffrey, who again himself deals with injuries, but he's also showed us that he can be very electric. Again, these are just the guys next in line here, going in that I think it's 120 to 150 range in terms of ADP right now. So Coach Jibbs, I'll let you start us off here. Actually, no, Coach Tyler, you haven't had a chance to start off yet, so I'm gonna let you start us off here. Give us one player that you like in this range.
Yeah, I guess I got to be a homer and go with Nick Chubb. We have been. I really think I cursed Houston. I said that Joe Mixon was going to have a better season than the end of last year, and it's all just falling apart since
Roll
then.
the tape.
Yeah. I even saw today Aaron Wilson, who's a beat reporter in Houston, is saying that Mixon's liable to start the season on the NFI list. So there's a chance that he's not even playing week 1, which has been a possibility, but now it's becoming a lot more of a reality a couple weeks out. And it looks like Nick Chubb is the guy. We have Dameon Pierce recovering from a quad injury. We have Woody Marks, who's, getting a little bit of run here and there, but he's not necessarily breaking through. He's, Houston really, it seems that they drafted him to be the reception guy to give Joe Mixon a little bit of a break, a little bit of change of pace, and now people are trying to make him the RB1 of the Houston backfield, which he's good enough. I'm not going to fight it. But, Nick Chubb went out. Whatever you heard in practice, whatever you hear from the beat writers, they're wrong. Go watch the preseason tape of what he was doing. It wasn't, extreme vintage Nick Chubb, but it was good enough for me to feel all right as a Texans fan about him. And so, the Texans have been real hush-hush about this Joe Mixon injury. They just keep trying to push it off, push it down, make people forget about it, which as we get closer and closer terrifies me as a fan and also someone that has a lot of Nick Chubb in dynasty leagues or a lot of Joe Mixon in dynasty leagues. And so, I think that Nick Chubb could be the guy. I don't think we see a total career resurgence, but I wouldn't put it past him to have – I would say probably ceiling along the lines of what we saw out of J.K. Dobbins last year in terms of a little bit of a resurgence, just breaking that 1K mark if he is the guy all year. The Texans are capable of feeding him. Stroud can't win every game for them, sadly. But I think that he has a 100% chance to be the guy if Mixon is out. And we have no clear timetable on even when Mixon is going to put pads on again. So,
shoot up
I have a question.
Yes.
So, I love the ring endorsement coming from the Texans fans. So you make me definitely happy about trying to get him. But for anybody though, if Joe Mixon was to be placed, I don't know how it works, but PUP first 4 games out of the season, what we're probably expecting. Where would you take him in a draft? Where you feel comfortable?
Yeah,
well, I think that's the key thing.
Yeah, it's.
Are you
I feel comfortable if it's
Mixon.
very, very low, because it depends on who you're drafting with. Your home leagues, you can probably get him with your last round pick, stash him on your IR, and then go pick someone up who you also would have wanted in the last round. Right? People are not paying attention, and they're going to see, the big red letters on ESPN or whatever and get scared off. It's really hard for me to feel super comfortable drafting him, in a knowledgeable league outside of a best ball league. Just because we have no clarity we don't know what the injury is. We don't know any timetable. We don't know when he hurt it. We don't know how he hurt it. They showed up for OTAs and he was in a walking boot and everyone was like, oh, he'll be fine by training camp. And then he's just like, it's not even that he's standing on the side. Like, he has just disappeared from the face of the earth. He's not out at practice looking at anything. He's not anywhere to be found. He's not talking to the media. He is just gone. And so it really scares me outside of like a home league where you just trust you can throw him on IR and not have to worry about it. I don't want to touch it just because if we don't even have an idea of, oh, this is a Liz Frank and he's going to be out, 8 weeks. Oh, this is, he has something wrong with this growth plate in his foot and he's going to need surgery. And then we got to see, it'll be a 4 to 12 week timeline, but we'll see what the rehab looks like. Like, there's no knowledge. And so that's what scares me the most off of him. And that almost makes him undraftable outside of, hey, I have him with my last pick and I can throw him in the IR just in case he magically gets a steroid shot in his foot and is playing week 4.
You know what this eerily reminds me of? But obviously you're not investing anything nearly close. Christian McCaffrey last year. It's like we just don't know. And it's like it could be – I can't do with that information. Like this idea of like, oh, it could be nothing, could be on, the pup, could be 10 games, could be the season. Who knows? It's like literally next week we could get news that like, oh, he's undergoing season-ending Liz Frank surgery. And you're like, oh, all right, sweet. So to Tyler's point, the fact that we only have to invest a double-digit round pick in it, I get it. Like, sure, why not? Who knows? It could be fine. But I'm with Coach Tyler in the sense that something is rotten in Denmark. Like, like how are we getting zero information from Mixon's camp, from Houston's camp, from anybody? Nobody's saying anything, which makes me think that it's not great. It makes me think it's really bad. And it's like, okay, we're just trying to figure out how bad this is. And then what do we do from here? And so I'm with Coach Tyler. I think this is a lot worse than anyone wants to give credit to.
No, that's fair. That's a great question there, Coach Jibbs. Coach Jibbs, Coach John, do any of you guys want to give another positive or a negative to any of these guys? I don't like this group in general. The next group is a lot more fun, but
It's
this group
interesting
is not fun.
It's interesting because I think this group is more interesting to me than the last group. Because the last group, you still have to invest a somewhat decent pick
That's
in.
fair.
This group, I mean, these are all, 10, 11 round picks? Like, okay,
12.
I'll take my chance with that. Like, a 7th round pick is a big difference than a 10th round pick. And so I don't mind. Like, Tajay Spears, I just don't know, how much really is there. I don't like throwing injury prone around, but it has been 2 years of like, all right, we need to get you on the field for an extended period of time. He's the only one, but everyone else, it's like I would take a stab at him. Who else am I going to take? Romeo Dobbs? Like, okay, I'll take Jaden Blue. Like, at least there's a chance there.
That's fair. That's fair. Is Isaiah Garendo a must handcuff if you draft McCaffrey?
Smart move, yes. Not must. I don't think must. But I would prioritize him for sure. I would prioritize him. Okay. But if you don't, like, it's not. I don't think it's not as clear cut as like a Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet situation. Like, we've seen the 49ers kind of do that to us, where it's like, oh, we think it's Isaiah Garendo, and then someone else has a monster game, or they sign someone off the street and he does great. It's like 49ers are the one team that makes me anxious that way, where, I mean, we just saw it last year too, where they did it with a couple different guys. And so
and Garendo's hurt right now too. He's supposed to miss at least a couple weeks with some shoulder injury, and then Jordan James is
hurt.
Yeah, they just
Jeff Wilson is there now.
They just signed Jeff Wilson again.
He's about to get
what? It's crazy.
Corey Kiner.
Yeah. I mean, so I think, to your point, yeah, I would prioritize it. Like, I would think to myself, okay, well, maybe read the tea leaves. Who do I think is going to be back up? But I wouldn't like go crazy because it's just not as clear cut as other situations.
That's fair. Well, I mean, this grouping right here intrigues me a lot more. Obviously, in this grouping, you have Jerome Ford, who could be obviously the starter for Cleveland. He's going so late. Obviously, if you heard about Junkins, he got his things kind of waived, or they kind of they let it go. But the NFL obviously still has to do their investigation. So, and he's not even signed. So Jerome Ford is starting week 1 at least with Dylan Sampson, who we might mention next.
And the Browns, by the way, have came out today and said they are in no rush to sign him. So they are really just kind of letting this whole situation sort of fizzle out before they do anything. And he could still get it was legal, like, so that he's still not criminally charged, but she could press whatever civil charges. There's still more going on. It's
right. Yeah.
There's no lawsuit. So
right.
He's not. I just wanted to say that and bring that up because I think people are acting like he's in the clear.
And he's not.
Quinton Junkins is not in the clear, not signed by a team, still in hot water. I don't want this sort of narrative going around that he's good to go.
Yeah, no. Do not draft him.
Yeah, be careful. Maybe draft him, but just like Joe Mixon, be very careful. You might just be 100% burning this pick.
That's fair. Like I said, Jerome Ford's here, Ray Davis. Gave me some time to think about it, but Rico Dowling, Trey Benson, you have Sean Tootin, and Braylon Allen, who is getting a lot of hype after this past weekend here. So, Coach Jibbs, I'll let you start us off here. Who is one guy you're really liking in this range?
I love them all, except Rico. I don't think I like Rico, but
he's had a lot of passing work apparently this week.
Well, you can catch all them passing work. That shit better go to Tet.
I hope so.
Yeah, Carolina's in trouble if Rico Dowdle's catching 100 balls.
I'm gonna go with Ray Davis. He's offensively, like, he has the best offensive situation out of the whole group. Like, we know if something were happening to James Cook, what he could do. That he unleashed for like 152 yards. He had a couple passes at the touchdowns, and he only played like 50% of the snaps that game. So there could be even more room for him to have some higher end value. But like, you can't really go wrong with a bunch of these guys, I would think. But I'm just gonna take a shot. I've been drafting, and I'm taking the RB heavier approach, so I want to take more shots at these high end backups rather than getting like someone like Jerome Ford, who may have value for 4 weeks, could be in a timeshare, could be playing for the worst offense in the football. Who knows? There's so many outcomes, but it all depends what you're trying to aim at in your spot of the draft. Do you want some upside? Do you want stability? Yeah, you take your pick. These guys are all fine in my eye.
That's true. Joe Flacco got to the start for week 1, just so you guys know.
Against the Bengals.
That's
Against
good
the
news for the
Bengals.
Browns. They're starting Joe Flacco in 2025. That's really good.
You know, I do a lot of data articles, and I realized that in Joe Flacco's 30s, his 30-year-old, he's I think 39 now,
Yeah.
40 maybe, 39. I think he's 39. He's played 2 full seasons in the last 9 years. But it always seems to be like, oh, Joe Flacco, man, he can really air it out. But man, he has not been a full-time quarterback in so long. But it feels like he has. I don't know why, but. Coach John, give me a play you like in this range too. We're gonna do all positives here because everyone's got to have somebody.
Sure. I think I'm the type of person at this time of year. I really do. Sometimes to my detriment, but I do buy into a lot of hype, and I do buy into training camp reports. I think Braylon Allen's really good. I think they really like him. He was a guy that, if again, like the CJ Stroud story, you go far enough back. I remember when he was coming in as a prospect, he was arguably one of the top prospects of that draft class. He got a terrible draft stock, kind of fell a little, landed behind Breece Hall, and the narrative completely changed. And everyone went, oh, nobody wants Braylon Allen. He stinks, this, that, the other thing. He's backed up behind Breece Hall. He's never going to get an opportunity to show what he can do. And I don't know, but by mid-season last season, they started getting him on the field. He starts, solid runner, good short yardage, can find the end zone. I think that's the type of consistency that they need. And then they showed him pass catching, and he was a decent showed some work in the passing game. So I like Braylon Allen. I think that, I don't know what it is about Breece Hall, but the Jets don't seem to like Breece Hall. I don't get it. I think Breece Hall's awesome. I think he's fine. I think he's going to go get a second contract somewhere for sure. But the organization clearly doesn't seem to want to use him, doesn't seem to want to run him like a 3-down workhorse. I think he's going to be in a committee, and they know that he's gone next year anyway. So I don't see the Jets really, sort of building an offense around him. I think that this team could be a disaster by week 12, but I'm still willing to, take young talent in this range, right? At this point of a fantasy football draft, I'm just betting on young talent. I'll take it. So to get to Jibbs' point, Jerome Ford, he could be the starter. He's probably fine, but as an older, not super electric back on a bad offense, I guess I'll take a young electric back on a bad offense, if I have to pick one of the two. So, again, I think that there's at least some upside potential. And then in the concept of backup, if Breece Hall did ever go down, I think Braylon Allen would be awesome. I think he's an auto start if there was no Breece Hall. But there's even a chance you could flex him with Breece Hall around.
That's fair. I like that there. I do like Breece Hall. He's so not Breece Hall. Braylon Allen. He's so young. He's only 21 years old now. It's crazy how young this guy is. Mm-hmm. Coach Tyler, give me a guy in this range here that you like.
Love Braylon Allen. I really think it may be. I feel like he's been a lot of people's breakout, and I think I'm starting to kind of jump on the train a little bit behind Trey Benson. I overdrafted Trey Benson last year in rookie drafts, so I thought that he was going to be the guy and James Conner was going to go out, and then I just got burned. So, had a little bad taste of Trey Benson, sold him off in some leagues, but now I think he's going to be something decent. But you look at James Conner, right? He's not necessarily known to be the healthiest back, and he's been getting a lot of work for that Cardinals team. And there's been, I don't want to say some confusing reports out of camp and from the team. James Conner comes out and says, we're both the RB1. That makes me feel better about Trey Benson actually getting some run this year. Pretty interesting that James Conner would call him the RB1 as well. I think he'd like to hold that role and that title to himself. Maybe he's just humble like that. But I see the path for Trey Benson to go out there and be a thumper. He looked and has looked a lot more explosive this preseason than he looked at all last year. I don't know what they put in the water down at the Cardinals camp, but he has been drinking it and he has been looking it. And so I think that Trey Benson has the ability to, continue to work his way onto the field more, have a lot better showing than what we saw last year from him. And if what James Conner says is true, then we have the possibility to see, a 60-40 to even possibly a 50-50 split between this backfield. And that's if James Conner is healthy for every game.
That's fair. No, I'm growing on Trey Benson as well. He's someone that I think had a lot of just bad luck last year with everything went on with him, and James Conner just stayed healthy for once. And it's hard it's hard to get on the field when James Conner has been producing as much as he has as a Cardinal. So some fun news out of things that I just noticed that the Commanders played tonight. Obviously, Brian Robinson Jr. is not playing tonight.
Oh, so you say.
JCM.
Not traded yet. I'm sorry, not traded yet. But it's a mutual decision between the Commanders and Robinson not to play him tonight. So something could be coming up with that in the next couple of days. So
Welcome to Dallas.
maybe that was a name that actually got speculated, but I don't know if they'd want to trade him to in-division rival though.
Jerry needs to get the eyes off him not paying Micah Parsons, so he's going to do something stupid.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Boy. Boy.
Over to some wide receivers here now. Guys that are going that 9 to 10 range here. Oh, God, I don't know who this guy is. That's Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden. Abuka, thank you. It's like playing like who's the guy on the thing. Josh Downs, Brandon Ayuk, and Michael Pittman Jr. is going so late in drafts.
So late.
That's how bad the Colts quarterbacks is when their wide receivers are literally going so late. They're so talented. But out of this grouping here, I personally can't see any negatives per se outside of Brandon Ayuk personally, the injury thing going on. But give me one of these guys that you plan on going after, Coach Tyler.
Yeah, kind of like I said, Golden's the alpha in that offense. Not to say that Michael Pittman isn't the alpha in his offense, but he needs a quarterback to give him the ball. So I really do like Golden. I don't think that Jaden Reed is going to lose a ton in terms of his target share. I think it's going to be those weird spike weeks from Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Dobbs and, all these different players that the Packers just seem to pull out of nowhere and then go out and have these long shot touchdown odds. Someone is smart enough to make money off of that. But they drafted Golden in the first round. They drafted him to be the alpha. Jaden Reed's probably going to play in the slot most of the time, so he's going to get his. But you don't say, hey, we need to draft an alpha and then not get him the ball. I think there's going to be a, learning process. I don't think he's going to come out and be a wide receiver one immediately. But if you look at historically the back half of rookie wide receiver seasons, there's a lot of hits. And as he's figuring out the game, as him and Jordan Love are fine-tuning that chemistry, I think there's a good chance that he could be a league winner in the back half of your seasons. And you're getting him around guys that don't have a quarterback or aren't playing a full season. And so I like the possibility of getting the number one option for a team that's going to throw the ball. Like they didn't pay Jordan Love after one season to not have him deliver the ball to their receivers. They didn't spend a first-round pick on Matthew Golden to go have him play left bench. He's going to get the ball. And so I think the Golden's my guy in this round.
That's fair. I respect it. Coach John, what about you, my friend? Where are you at with one of these wide receivers?
I think Matthew Golden, great. Like, I love it. I think the upside is there. He has the opportunity to become the number one in his offense. I don't think Emeka Mbuka has that option. I don't think he'll ever be the number one, but I do think he could be a very valuable player in a very good offense. While Chris Godwin is on IR, on PUP, slow to recover, I think he's one of those guys, and it's rare that you have a rookie with opportunity to kind of come out the gates right away and earn a bunch of targets and then sort of solidify himself and then make it difficult to take him off the field once Chris Godwin is back. I do think Emeka Mbuka has that opportunity, and I do think he's talented enough to take it. So do I ever think he's going to surpass Mike Evans? No, I don't think he's going to surpass Mike Evans in terms of being the target leader, volume, all that. But could he see 20% target share? Could he see 18% target share in a very good offense where we just saw a rookie last year with some touchdown upside down the stretch? Yeah, I think we could. So, I like him over the two Colts players just because of the offense. And so sometimes with players, you just got to bet on a good offense. And I think that, the number 2 receiver on a good offense, a la T. Higgins, can sometimes be a lot better than the number 1 on a bad offense. And so I'll take Emeka Mbuka.
That's fair. That's fair. I like that. Coach Jibbs, which Colt player would you prefer?
Oh,
You could say you don't want them. That's
Oh
fair.
my God.
You got painted into a corner,
Do you
Jibbs.
prefer Brandon Ayuk to take him at this range, or
Oh no, Ayuk's a scam.
he's running routes already? Come on, he's catching
Scam.
balls in preseason practice.
I'm gonna take the Colt in the white, Josh Downs.
Touchdowns. All right.
You get him a little bit cheaper. I mean, in the later. And I feel like I don't know. Let me look up something.
Perfect. Yeah, Josh
Josh Downs is better than Michael Pittman. He gets targeted on looks like 29 of his routes, and I think he had a 2.21 yards per route run last season over Michael Pittman's back issues. So I'll take the younger player who's explosive, and seems like a lot of the fantasy analysts is deep sleepers for wide receiver Josh Downs. So I like him better than Michael Pittman.
Okay, I respect it. I gave you a hard one there at the end. So, all right. Moving over to our last row of wide receivers here, the young guys and Darnell Mooney. So we have Trey Harris, Luther Burden. Oh, who is
Poor
that
Mooney.
guy in
Jaden
81?
Higgins.
Kyle Williams? Is that Kyle Williams?
Jaden Higgins.
Jaden Higgins. Thank you.
Pat Bryant.
Pat Bryant. I guess who that is.
Is that not Marvin Mims?
Yeah,
That's Trey Harris. Who's the
That's-
first guy? Oh, Keon Coleman.
Keon Coleman.
And then Darnell Mooney. I swear I would be so bad at this game if I had to just
Young
look at the
players and Mooney is so funny, and
Yeah.
it's so funny.
names. That's literally what it is. They're all
It's young players and Darnell Mooney.
And Darnell Mooney. That's where this range goes
Young
here.
Moolah,
So.
baby.
All right. Who we got to go with first here? Coach John, I'll let you take the realm here. Which of these players would you target in your drafts?
I think it's Keon Coleman. I mean, it's funny. I traded for him in the Fantasy Coaches Dynasty League, and so I feel like I have to talk about him on the Fantasy Coaches show. But I do also believe that he is the one to me that presents the most upside for sure. He is profiled again. Rewind the tape. He was taken, early second round after the Bills traded back out of their pick to move back, gain extra assets. They wanted Keon. They expected him to be this big player. He was banged up kind of throughout the season. He plays physical, so it's hard for him to play through that injury. I do think, and again, coming out of training camp, things are glowing. He looks healthy, looks good. Josh Allen likes the way he's playing in the red zone. And this is an offense that's starved for pass catchers. I mean, I think Kincaid's great. I think everybody that they have is probably a B- player. They're all fine. But Keon Coleman has the potential to be a B+, A- player, really set himself apart, get that 8, 9, 10 targets a game. And we've seen the big play potential. And so if you just kind of solidify his floor a little bit with some volume, I think you could have good weeks as your floor with some spikes of 160 and 2 in there every once in a while. And you're like, oh, okay, that was fun. I just won my week. So if I can take a guy like a Keon Coleman super late, last year you kind of were forced into starting him as your wide receiver 3 range. Now he's a bench guy. You plug him in on weeks you like. Maybe by week 4, he shows some crazy chemistry and he's locked into your flex spot. Like, that's great. That's what you need out of a year 2 player to sort of break out and be an everyday starter. And so I like the potential. I think, again, fantasy analysts, fantasy players are quick to forget, quick to move on to the next young hotness. But Keon Coleman was supposed to be that dude last year. So I think this is his opportunity going into year 2 to be that.
Yes, I agree on that one. I do like Keon Coleman as a nice sleeper in those later rounds. So I do like that, John. Coach Jibbs, I'll let you go so you don't go last on this one here. Give me a player you plan to draft in this range.
I'll go with Marvin Mims Jr.
Is that Marvin Mims?
Yeah,
Is it? All right.
I'm pretty sure.
It is Marvin Mims. Not Pat Bryant.
Sorry, that's my fault.
Marvin Mims.
My bad, Brian.
I just
When you
assumed
said-
it was
I
Pat
completely
Bryant.
forgot about Marvin Mims. That's my fault. That's my
Marvin Mims,
bad. I
everyone.
completely.
You're right. It's Marvin Mims.
I completely.
I was like,
forgot about
hopefully. Well, I was
No,
talking
my
about
bad.
Marvin Mims regardless. So,
Yeah.
like, the first 10 games last year, he had 2.1 PPR points per game. Killed it for you. Killed it. But the last 7 games, 15.5 PPR points. He came on towards the end of the season. I believe for the fantasy championship, he gave you 30 points in PPR leagues, kind of delivered the championship home. And even with the low offensive snap share throughout the season, he had a 2.57 yard per route run. I'm hoping Bo Nix and Sean Payton, they're screaming glorious aspirations are going to be a Super Bowl team this season. So I'm going to sip the Kool-Aid. But there's a lot to be asked in that offense besides Cortland Sutton and what we were expecting at the running backs and Bo Nix. That wide receiver spot's open up for discussion. It could be Pat Bryant, but I'm going to bank on Marvin Mims Jr. and his end of the year metrics, and hopefully Evan Ingram disappointment next year. So that really will put the icing on the cake. So that's why I like Marvin Mims.
Yes, Marvin Mims Jr., not Pat Bryant. All right, Coach Tyler. Of the 4 players that haven't been mentioned, again, you can mention anyone, but like, which of these guys would you be targeting?
Yeah, I do like Higgins. Obviously, homer pick right there. I do think he has a very quick roll to the wide receiver 2 spot. Not really a tight end to compete with. And he was, the number 1 in his offense ahead of Jalen Noel, who is really who he is competing with in Christian Kirk for targets. So really like Jaden Higgins, but I'm going to go Luther Burden. I'm a big Luther Burden fan. I didn't necessarily understand the negative press he got going into the draft. Obviously, being at Mizzou, people are going to look at stats. They're going to look at the analytics. Mizzou sucked. I could have probably played quarterback better than the guy they had out there, and that's telling you something. So I throw his last season away at Mizzou, not because I want to make my argument look better, but because he didn't have a quarterback. And so his coach was calling a lot of screens. So, you can boost those completion numbers. You can, get the ball out quick. He doesn't have to make a decision. It's, hey, you're going to throw the ball to this guy, and it's going to get done.
All right.
There's been so much talk that, everyone wants DJ Moore to be the next Amon-Ra St. Brown in a Ben Johnson offense. That's not happening. If you've listened to anything from the beat writers, the Bears basically want to take DJ Moore out back and get rid of him, but they're paying too much money for him, so they can't do it yet. But that opens the door for one of 2 guys, Rome Odunze or Luther Burden. Where did Luther Burden find all of his success in college? In the slot. Rome Odunze is also 6'3". Sure, he can win in the slot. You don't want to not have that on the outside a good amount of the time.
That's fair.
Especially with the size of that receiver room. So I see a door very welcome to be open, and I see Luther Burden going out, and he's still working his way up the depth chart. He started out kind of low because of where he was picked and the just competition that he had for targets, but he's working his way up. If you watched, some of those routes, you watched how he was playing on Sunday night, he looked outstanding. And I think that he can very much carve out a role in this very busy Bears offense. And that says something about who he is, and especially if Ben Johnson wants to keep playing his little trick plays and gadgets, there's one guy that I see those going to the most and being the focal point of that, and that's Luther Burden.
All right. I like it. All right, moving on to our final part of the night here. A borderline tight end ones. If you don't draft a tight end early, there is a bunch of tight ends to go after, and in this draft you could go after. You have Tucker Kraft, who's a solid tight end. You have the young guy in Tyler Warren. You have Jonah Smith, now in Pittsburgh. You have Colston Loveland, who had a nice catch, a couple catches last night. You have Kincaid. Is that Kincaid? I thought it was Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson's on the other side.
Yeah.
Don Kincaid. You have Hunter Henry's been solid. You have Dallas Goedert's been solid. You have the thing is this year is, are you going to buy back into Kyle Pitts one more time? And,
you got to hit at least. At some point, you're going to hit.
Yeah. And then you obviously have Jake Ferguson.
Right?
So maybe,
Right?
I don't know.
Where's my guy Zach Ertz at on the slide?
Zach Ertz, he doesn't reach here. He's not on here now.
He's not borderline. He's definitely a tight end
Yeah,
one.
Kyle Pitts over here.
He
all right, you
definitely
can
is.
just insert in the middle here. Right there.
Yeah, there's
He's,
a little.
he's hiding
yeah,
behind the
put
screen.
right
He's
there.
there. Zach Ertz,
just kidding,
too.
just kidding.
All right. Dalen Waller, too.
Ladies
Come
and
on.
gentlemen,
All right,
Zach
Coach
Ertz.
Jibbs, I'll let you start us off here. Which of these tight ends are you targeting if you go tight end late?
Oh, I hate tight ends. I'm
Zach
gonna get the
Ertz?
last one. Probably Zach Ertz, but I'll
I
give.
mean, they all might be there. Half of them might even be there for you to choose from at the end.
They would. Him, maybe Kyle Pitts. I'll just go with Dalton Kincaid if I want to get one earlier than I'm typically expecting to. And I know he was frustrating last season, but I find the Bills wide receiver room to be lacking a second option. Over the last 2 seasons, the Bills average 23.8 target share to their tight ends, and 16% of that went to Kincaid. And he was second on the team in targets last year for what that's worth, and missed 4 games with injuries. So I know he may split snaps with Dalton Knox, but the Bills ran so many offensive touchdowns last year. I think there was 32 out of their 60
Josh Allen
offensive
had
touchdowns. Josh Allen had half of them. I could see some regression going towards the passing side of things, and maybe Dalton Kincaid could be a little bit more fortunate on that side of the ball. But besides the touchdowns, because that's the one thing you can't really chase year over year, I kind of do like where he's projected to be in this offense on my projection. So I'll go with a good tight end and a good offense.
That's fair. I like that. Coach Tyler, give us a tight end.
It's got to be Kyle Pitts. You can't have him break out and him be on anyone else's team but yours.
Oh, God.
No, I'm completely joking. Don't buy Kyle Pitts ever, please. I'm really in love with these rookies, right?
I want to be.
I am. I'll do my best to convince you. I don't have the analytics that you love, but I have the vibes. And that's all that matters. But Tyler Warren, it doesn't matter who is playing quarterback back there for the Colts. They're going to him early and often. You look at anything coming out of camp, just about every practice is Tyler Warren looks ready, for the NFL. Tyler Warren is leading this offense. Tyler Warren this, Tyler Warren that. They're putting him in on goal line packages just like he was in at Penn State. Like, he has so many weapons that he can be. He really is going to be an outstanding tight end, in my opinion. But he might be the new age Taysom Hill, but one that actually plays tight end as well. So I see a lot of, ability for Tyler Warren in just his first season on target share and receptions alone. As long as you're not playing in a standard league, that might be what pushes him over the top to be, a top 8 tight end as a rookie. And then Colson Loveland, everyone wants to use Sam Laporta to talk about it. Obviously, Sam Laporta had a great rookie season. These are 2 different tight ends. Colson Loveland, almost the same situation as Luther Burden last year, didn't have anyone at quarterback, and he was still a dominant force, right? You look at the stats, and, the box score bandits might not love what Colson Loveland did last year and say, oh, he just had a crazy season with Michigan when they were stealing all the signs and everything, and he fell off after that. He didn't fall off. He had a track star playing quarterback, and it didn't work. It happens. But Ben Johnson still saw enough out of him and his ability to go and draft him with a top 10 pick. Ben Johnson saw enough out of him to basically be just a giant wide receiver down the seam to go spend a top 10 pick on him when they have a fairly good tight end, right? Cole Kmet isn't a slouch. He's not, Brock
nice
Bowers.
catch last night, too.
He's not Travis Kelce. He's not, one of the star platinum names in the league. But he's a very serviceable tight end. And then they went out and got Colson Loveland. Like, you just have to hear what the team is saying and what the coaches are saying by their actions to see what is going to happen. I saw a tweet from Jeff Bell today. He said, I can't wait for the 5 times this season when I get excited for a Colson Loveland touchdown. It gets Cole Kmet.
I thought it was, I think I did that video. I was like, oh, that's Cole Kmet. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah. So it will happen at some point this season, but I'm really in on these rookie tight ends, and I think that Warren with just his sheer target volume, and then Colson Loveland with what Ben Johnson is capable of crafting up and just getting him wide open like we saw last night, I think it's, a great ability for them to both be even possibly top 8 tight ends this year.
I like it. All right, Coach John, you're wrapping us up here. Give us another tight end out of this list here.
I feel like I could talk about this whole grouping all night. We could sit here for another 2 hours, and I legitimately could like all of these guys as late round tight ends. It's, I think there's a case for all of them. But the one I wanted to bring up is Tucker Kraft, because I don't think he ever is going to get the respect he deserves. I don't think he's ever going to get talked about in this sort of fantasy darling light, because he isn't flashy. He isn't super sexy. It might not always be these amazing, beautiful one-handed catches or whatever Kyle Pitts does that gets him shot up draft boards. But Tucker Kraft to me is like as steady and as solid and as what you want for a tight end as can be. I mean, to me, the barometer of a good week for a tight end is double digits. He was double digits 10 weeks last year, and 2 weeks he missed with injury. So, I mean, and 3 of those weeks were over 20 points. So he does have some big splash upside too. But how frustrating is it? And we saw it with Mark Andrews. You'd have games where it's 0, 0, 2. It's not going to happen with Tucker Kraft. You're probably around 8 to 10 points in an average week with the chance of 25. It's like, yeah, that's great for a tight end. Like now, those 25-point games might not always come because it's usually touchdown reliant. It's not yardage reliant, which, that's where some of those other guys can really lap the field, those Brock Bowers of the world, where it's yardages and touchdowns. But we just talked about Jordan Love as a breakout. We don't love anyone really behind Matthew Golden. If we think Jordan Love's going to throw 35, 40 touchdowns, where do we think those touchdowns are going to go? Is it out of the realm of possibility that Tucker Kraft has 10 touchdowns? He had 8 last year. I think he could easily have 10 touchdowns. And so you're giving Tucker Kraft 10 touchdowns. He's going to give you 6, 7 receptions a week. Fine. He's going to be tight end 6, 7, and you're going to be happy you started him every week. With every once in a while, you'll have a big 2-touchdown week, and you're like, oh, again, similar to my Keon Coleman argument, every once in a while, you'll get a week where you're like, oh, great, I won this week. Awesome, thanks. And so I just don't know, what that, like, again, like a Dallas Goedert or a Kyle Pitts or a Jake Ferguson, like these guys are good too. They're all fine. I like them all, but I don't know if they really have, outside of Kyle Pitts, I think he does, have the potential to go out there and like win you a week. I think Dallas Goedert, Ferguson, they're going to be fine. Again, 14 points is a big week from those guys. We saw Tucker Kraft put up 30 last year, so he can do it. It's in the bag.
All right, I like it. You guys pick a lot of great tight ends. I think those would be the guys I go after if I was taking tight end late, and if you guys are drafting tight ends late, like I said, there's so many good options there. So all right, well, that is going to wrap us up for the evening, guys. That was the filling your bench kind of players there. Likely these guys are going to be on your benches, most of them. There's going to be some other guys we'll talk about next week, but again, the majority of these guys will be drafted on someone's team, at least in your league. So let's do some closing not arguments, but closes here. Coach Jibbs, I'll let you start first, my friend.
Draft season is on us. Drink responsibly.
That's fair.
And have a good time.
Don't drink during the draft. And Coach John, over to you.
Yeah, I did not take your advice over the weekend. I should have definitely taken that advice. Listen, I had so much fun. Thanks for having me on again, as always. Thanks for putting on a great show. And I think the Patriots going to make a run at the AFC this year. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I hate to do it again, but the East just is such a soft division, and I think we're just going to make some noise. So I'm sorry to do it to you.
Okay, and of course, Coach Tyler.
So now I got to say that the Texans are going to beat the Patriots in the wild card round.
Wow, that would be what a wild ride that would be for us this year, Coach.
You saw what we did to Herbert. But yeah, guys, thank y'all for tuning in. Go check out dynastynerds.com. Me and Coach Steve talk about it every week. That's where we met. That's where we do a lot of our work. Great tools as you're prepping for your drafts. For my Dynasty players out there, obviously Dynasty Nerds, lots of focus towards y'all. Great tools like the Dynasty GM, Dynasty Film Room. Those of y'all that know, we're going to have Farmageddon this Saturday. over in Ireland. So college football is getting started, which means our 26 draftees are starting to play games.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot of film uploaded to that film room and a lot of time that I'm going to spend in there watching it. So go over to dynastynerds.com, use code COACH when you get over there. Let them know that we sent you, and thank you all again for tuning in.
Yes, guys, and thank you all for tuning in as always, whether it's live on our YouTube channel and those who asked questions today. That was fantastic. Anytime you want to ask a question, we will answer it for you on the show, no matter what here. And if you're listening on our, Spotify, now that Spotify, you can watch videos on Spotify. You can watch our shows live. You can see our faces. It's awesome. Or on Apple Podcasts if you listen to that, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We appreciate you guys as well. And we all do this for free. I am paying anyone to do this with me today. So we do this to help you guys win championships here, and that's all we like to do here, guys. So we'll be back next Monday for one more off-season show here. It's definitely, if you have your drafts next weekend, you definitely want to tune into the show because we're really going to give you guys a lot of good players, a lot of good names to help you win your draft. So until then, guys, thank you all for listening. Tune in until next time, everyone, and have a great one.
Go Birds.
Back to back is not